Good morning, everyone. I hope you are in the midst of the last minute Christmas shopping. I wish I were. I still have a long way to go. But since we're going to be talking about giving this morning and what happens to your body, your mind, your gut, aspects of the body, then I thought I would start by telling you a bit of a personal story. If you were to take our three children, the youngest one is 50 now, and you were to separate them and interview them and ask them, what childhood Christmas do you remember the most? Now, there were a lot of childhood Christmases, and but if you ask them which one do you remember the most, I can promise you they're all going to tell you the same Christmas. So how does one Christmas stand out in all of the years of Christmases with children? Why would one in particular stand out? It was a year when some friends of ours, they weren't super close. We saw them from time to time. It was a family, and the father died. He was a minister, but had been ill for a number of years. And finally, earlier in the year, I think it was in the fall, he died. Now, their mother had been supporting the family selling books door to door. Now, you remember when you could sell these Bible story books and everything door to door. Some of you do. And so she didn't ever make a lot of money, but they had been able to somehow get by. Um, and then, of course, with Christmas coming, I had a pretty strong ministry with her, talking with her on the phone because we lived a distance away across Atlanta, which is quite a distance. And I realized that she was heading into Christmas, and there was no way there were going to be presents under the tree that they had managed to get together. And money was never in a superabundance in my thinking. I think now all of us who live in America have money in superabundance. We just don't really understand that very well. But I remember sitting and thinking about, Lord, we have to do something. We have to help her with her children at Christmas time. And we had the kids had given their Santa Claus list, and I started thinking about how many things they were getting compared to these other children. So we called the children together, and I said to them, if each one of you select a gift, the children were approximately the same ages as the others. If each one of you select a gift, then this can go so that they have a Christmas as well. So I want you to take your list and start telling me if you want to do this and what you want to give. They took it very seriously. They didn't do it together, they did it separately. And then each one came in, and you'd think they would have selected things like socks or underwear or something, but they didn't. They had chosen the thing that they wanted and that was the biggest treasure to them. Uh, it moves me even now when I think about it. And when they came and said, this is what we want to give, I realized that these were deep, deep acts of generosity. And when the little children got their gifts, because they weren't just hand me down dollar store or something, because they were significant gifts, because we literally went in and got the gifts out of hiding, wrapped them, and took them over there, took them to their mom. Um, and at the end of the time, when we were talking about it after Christmas and through the years, they've always said that was the best Christmas we ever had because Christmas is about giving. And when we think about the aspects of generosity and giving this time of the year, it's all too easy to be running into that store to get what you've got to give out of whether we want to admit it or not, out of American abundance and pass right by that Army kettle, isn't it? It's all too easy to forget the real aspects of generosity. But because this program is about wellness, I thought that once again I would look at what does generosity do to the body. So that's what we're going to be sharing this morning, and then we're going to talk a few minutes. Um, let's hope they're up there still because it has been a morning. Okay. All right. Now what we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about health in general. What does generosity do? Carol, can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. What does generosity do to our health in general? Well, you're going to find some of this repeated as we go through these studies this morning. But I think it's important that you kind of cement some of these things in your mind. One, it does boost your feel good brain chemicals. You're not surprised. Those of you who are on this program often, you're not surprised to know that because you know about dopamine. You hear us talk about serotonin. You may not hear us talk about oxytocin as often, but oxytocin is what they call the love chemical. Now, interestingly, if you in my book, I talk about it because this particular hormone, which operates as a neurotransmitter, is associated with hugs, for example. Hugs, anytime you give somebody a hug, you're giving them a little boost of oxytocin. The first time that a man is sexually active with a woman, he gets such an enormous amount of oxytocin. And guess what it's designed for? It's designed for that man to mate for life with that particular woman. So, can you understand why our society is so messed up? Uh, when you're watching a chick movie, especially if you're a middle schooler, you're going to get a boost of oxytocin. However, it's not the real thing, is it? But it confuses the brain. But one of the most important things that I want you to know about oxytocin is when girls cut, the mental illness of cutting, what does the body release during that time? It releases oxytocin and makes them feel better. So it's the addiction to this chemical. I am convinced, you can quote me on this, that the mothers who are carrying their babies around in a carrier all the time, they go from the carrier to the car, from the car to the swing, they are not holding their babies. They are depriving these children of the oxytocin that's needed. Um, and in a baby's life, a young child, you know, they want to be on you, they want to be close to you. This is necessary for good mental and emotional health. So that got a little bit off the subject, but maybe you need to hear it. So what does it do here? One, it doesn't just boost your brain reward system, it reduces your stress hormone cortisol. Now, we hear a lot about cortisol nowadays, don't we? Probably all of us are producing too much. We're living in fight or flight. The bear is chasing us all the time. So, when we're being generous, when we're being kind and loving and giving, that cortisol begins to drop. Generosity lowers blood pressure, improves mood, increases self-esteem. It strengthens the immune system, and that's one of the things we'll talk about this morning. And it leads to a longer lifespan. Because this helper's high, uh, as it's called, from giving, creates a positive feedback loop in the body. So it's also linked to lower rates of depression and it lowers guilt and shame. And you're probably not surprised to hear that because those are psychological benefits, but what about your physiological? Improves heart health. Uh, Oxytocin widens blood vessels. It enables the body to get more blood where it needs to go quicker. it strengthens your immune system. So if you're dropping some money in that Salvation Army kettle, it's actually going to strengthen your immunity. And when you're wrapping those multitudes of presents that you have carefully selected for people you love, you may be getting fatigued, but it's also strengthened your immunity, especially if you are associating your feelings of love toward those people. Increases energy, extends lifespan, and of course, this is important here. Volunteering and giving provide meaning, which is linked to better psychological and physical health. Okay, now let's look at what it does for your heart more specifically. It has a positive impact, giving does, on your overall cardio health. Uh, and it mentions here again the hormones that are linked to good heart health. This one I thought that was interesting is that it can lower your heart rate. Now, we usually give people medicine to lower their heart rate, don't we? But what if people who maybe they've just been sitting around glued to television, which is only full with bad news, or they're watching other people live virtual lives? What if they started volunteering? What if they started volunteering in anything, whether it's for the elderly or for babies? Um, what if they started volunteering in pro-life clinics? Uh, don't you think, and I think you would agree, that their heart is going to improve? And one of the ways it's shown is it lowers the heart rate. This one, look at this. Decreased inflammation. Now, we talk a lot about how NRF2 lowers the levels of C reactive protein. That is a marker of cardiac inflammation and heart disease. It also is inflammation throughout the body. The American Heart Association says that NRF2 will lower your C reactive protein by 50%. That's a huge study. But guess what? Volunteering can also lower your levels of C reactive protein. And then this one, as people age and as the heart begins to show the wear and tear on it, these practices like loving kindness, meditation, which cultivate compassion, have been found to increase the heart rate via variability, which is really the indicator, a better indicator than the other heart measurement test on whether a heart can withstand the workload. Okay, now let's look at a couple of others. What about just the general cells in the body? We've already talked about the feel good positive responses from neurotransmitters and hormones. We've talked about it boosting immune cells. I think I have another one on that one. And it promotes overall well-being. And guess what? This was a new one for me. It benefits your stem cells through healthy lifestyles that support cell regeneration. Now, getting stem cell treatments is very expensive. And you don't always know whether you're going to get the results you're hoping for or not. But this appears to be a one that doesn't fail, that when you're being generous, that it actually improves your stem cells. These we've talked about a little bit, but when they're talking about a generous lifestyle, that is giving, it's loving, it's being kind. Okay, now let's see what else I wanted to point out. What about the brain? We've talked about these hormones again, but I wanted to show you something very scientific. This region of the brain, the TPJ, is a crucial brain region where parts of the brain meet. We're going to look at another study. And this is where information like uh, what we call sensory information as well as cognitive functions, attention, social cognition, and distinguishing the self from others. These are problems we see with mental and emotional illnesses. We see it with ADD, ADHD, and autism. We see it in just people who are hard to get along with. We see something's wrong, and when they do these brain scans, they see that here's the problem right here in the uh, TPJ. It also helps with tasks such as shifting your attention, empathy, mentalizing, and language. So, why is this important? It's important because, um, let's see, did I lose that one? Oh my. Um, I think I lost it. I'm sorry, guys. I was going to bring it back to you and show you how that these two parts of the brain connect better when there is generosity. And let's see here. This one is a good one. I'm so sorry I lost the other one, but I haven't ever mastered what happens to these things. Now, how giving to others can boost mental and physical health. I have an idea that before we even started this morning, you knew it. You might not have looked at the science, but you suspected that it was going to be good for you. This is a very good little article that you can read on how that sometimes as busy as we are, it's hard for us to be generous. It's very hard to be generous with our time. It's also difficult to be generous with something we can give all the time. We can be generous with kindness year round. At Christmas, we think about giving gifts, but all year long we can give kindness. And look what happens to the body when you're kind. It again triggers those happy hormones. You see, if we can boost dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, lower cortisol, lower blood pressure, boost mood, increase feelings of connection, strengthen the immune system, this is going to lead to better mental and physical health. Um, I think that one of the things that when I was looking at this, um, that I thought was so important is that kindness combats negative thoughts. It shifts the focus away from anxiety. Uh, this time of the year, I think 90 out of 100 people are filled with anxiety. Financial anxiety is the highest I've ever seen it, even back in the 50s, um, because there were fewer expectations. We don't have a lot of positive outlooks out there, do we? There's everywhere you turn that there's a war. Um, we are at a crucial time in history, and we don't know when the next shoe is going to fall, do we? We don't know when the next thing is going to fall. Um, and we don't know, even if you go out shopping, if it's safe because people are so deranged. Um, so, as we're going to be moving to questions and answers, I thought we would take this last article here, the astounding side effects of kindness, how it can boost your health. This was a very interesting one that where what they did is they took cells from the heart and the immune system and they put them in a test tube under stress. And then when they saw the high levels of inflammation and free radicals, they did the experiment again, but this time they dropped in a few drops of the kindness hormone, which is going to be your oxytocin. They dropped the inflammation, the free radicals dropped, they said, through the floor. In the immune system, there was an almost 57% reduction in inflammation within minutes. Kindness is an instant medication. It makes us happier. because instead of creating stress hormones, and guys, if we had a stress hormone test this morning, we're probably going to be way too high. But as we give kindness, we create kindness hormones. It builds a resilience to stress. They say that the kindness hormones are like a dimmer switch in the part of the brain, which I was going to show you both parts, but I lost a part, in stress, worry, fear, and anxiety. It says when you're being kind, it takes a little bit of the sting out of stressful events. Now, this was an interesting one where they had volunteers to watch an hour video of Mother Teresa carrying out acts of compassion and kindness. And by the way, my husband and my oldest son had the privilege of meeting her. And she immediately focused on our son and began to talk to him about the poor. And he's never forgotten it. And he's always in his ministry helped with the poor in a transformational way. Before the video, they had samples of an immune system antibody. By the time they finished it, there had been a 50% increase from doing nothing other than watching the video and being the witness to acts of compassion. Now, how does that affect your television watching and your reels? If you want to feel better, go to what's good and kind. It slows aging. They're saying here that one of the most potent antioxidants is the kindness hormone. And then it's contagious. You know that as well. You already knew that if you're kind to a person, that person will likely be kind. That's even true with animals, isn't it? Um, and then this last one of the most important people you need to show kindness to is yourself. One is what we do for ourselves, and the other is how we think about ourselves and how we speak about ourselves. This is one I'm often dealing with because I tend to, uh, to to think I should have achieved more. I should have done better. I shouldn't have be so behind on getting everything done. I should have finished my Christmas shopping in November, for example. But here, uh, they're suggesting that we also be kind to each other. So now, as we go to questions and answers, I want all of you to jump in here and let's talk about what you're already learning about generosity, not from what we've necessarily studied this morning, but maybe some things from your own thinking, as well as we always love the science. So, anybody want to jump in here?